Okay, so I have everyone muted, I think. It's like hard for me to see everybody as I have the screen. But if you guys have a question, feel free to ask it. We'll start at the beginning, I guess, here. And I wanted to talk about mindset. This is something that we've had a lot of questions on in the group, just mindset around fat loss. So I've kind of taken like things that have inspired me with mindset, practical application, as well as kind of what the current research shows, and tied that all together for this presentation today. So I'm going to talk through mindset, especially in terms of fat loss. And then I will answer, I don't know if maybe Marissa or Sam could pull up the questions, or I'll pull those up at the end, or you guys can ask them live if you have any, and we'll go from there. I don't know about anyone else, but I felt like this topic was really great for this week. My kids, it's like their last week of school. We have like elementary graduation after this, tryouts, so many things happening that it's really easy to get overwhelmed this time of year. So I was like, this is great. This is good for me too. So thank you for joining, and let me get my notes pulled up here. So, talking about mindset, and I think it's really important to remember how important mindset can be for achieving your goals. A lot of times, it's not that we don't know what to do, it's more that our beliefs and our mindset are kind of holding us back in many ways. The screen is black right now for me. Oh, okay. Well, that's good to know. Let me try sharing again really quick.
I can see it, Michaela. It
Oh,
must be
you can?
Marissa's,
Okay.
yeah.
Can anyone else see it?
Yeah, everybody's in the chat saying they can see it.
Oh, okay, great. Okay, I'll keep going. Marissa, you just listen then. Okay, um, so our mindset. So our mindset is our beliefs, our identity, and the thoughts that show up when things don't go according to plan. And we often struggle because our mindset isn't set up to support consistency when life is really full or stressful or unpredictable. So we're going to talk through like what mindset really means and how to recognize our own personal patterns and how to shift our thinking, and so that we are supported in our goals, especially long term. Okay, let me hit next here. There we go. Okay, here's where a lot of us go wrong, and we think that when we fail, we just need to try harder. I know I've been guilty of that. Like, okay, I just need a more intense, strict regimen, and I think it's so easy to fall into like things like 75 hard or different really challenging things because we aren't seeing success and we are having a hard time sticking to the current things. So we feel like we just need to try harder. We need to have a harder plan. But oftentimes we are not struggling with our willpower. We're struggling with a mindset that doesn't match the method that we're implementing. So defining mindset again, it's not just our attitudes or our motivation. It's the running stories that we tell ourselves. It's the beliefs that we have picked up over the years. Some of those are conscious beliefs, some of those are not conscious beliefs. Things like, I always fall off track. I just can't stick with anything. This just doesn't work for me. Macros don't work for me. I've heard that one before. If I'm not like all in, it's not worth doing. I just won't do it at all. Or I'm just not consistent. I always fail. I can't stick to things. That internal narrative shapes our identity, and our identity is what drives our behavior. So, research, Carol Dweck, she is one of my favorite authors on this topic. Her book is it called Growth Mindset? I think it's called Growth Mindset. And James Clear, his book is called Atomic Habits. We talk about both of these books often. They show us, so like through all of their research, that behavior follows identity. And so if you believe you're the kind of person who always quits or can't follow through, then you're going to find ways to confirm that. And that's why instead of like thinking how to try harder, instead, if we can start by shifting our beliefs in ourselves, we're going to be so much more successful in the long run. And it doesn't need to be like, I am perfect or I need to be perfect, but more, I need to be consistent enough to keep moving in the direction that I want to go. And that's what really leads to sustainable change. So, one of the most common mindset patterns that I see in women that are trying to change from like black and white thinking or all or nothing approach is I went off plan, I'll just restart next week. Or I didn't have time for my full workout, so I skipped it. Um, I think, I don't know if any of those, either of those like sound familiar to anyone here. But if they do, they're really common. And I think they feel like very logical in the moment. But what they do with when we kind of have that all or nothing thinking, we really start to create a cycle of like stop, start, stop, start, stop, start. And we're never actually moving forward, but we're feeling the stress of everything that we're trying to implement without like really seeing the results of what we're trying to implement. So what actually drives results is consistent, imperfect action. And that's where we're like really building momentum. It might not be linear. It might not be just like a perfect linear line. It's going to be like a staggered line. But over time, we can see a lot of success that way. And so instead of asking yourself, like, how can I follow this plan perfectly? I want you to instead try to shift into more like, what's the next best choice that I can make right now? And that mindset shift will keep you in it. It will keep you engaged and it will keep the needle moving forward where you want to go, even on those like really messy days that we all have. So, a few examples of kind of like some real life applications of this would be you overate your lunch, didn't went off kind of your plan. Don't spiral or stress about it. Track your dinner and just keep your evening really balanced, like include protein, include veggies, eat to satisfied, not full, and just move forward. Didn't have time to do maybe your 60-minute or even like a 45-minute lift. Instead, why don't you just do 15 minutes of movement, like a walk, a body weight circuit, something to check that box of I moved my body today, and you're moving through with consistency. Forget to prep any food, grab a quick win, like maybe stopping by the grocery store and getting a couple things as you're driving carpool, or like grabbing even just, okay, I want to get protein in, I want to get some fiber and veggies. All right, grab a protein bar. Maybe that's not like a full prepped meal, but it's better than nothing. Get some beef sticks, get a yogurt, grab a bell pepper and just eat it like an apple on your way out the door, or even have some fruit for fiber instead of skipping it altogether, because we know that always like definitely hurts us later, or just like being like, screw it, I'm just gonna get a bag of chips and just eat that one because I'm starving, you know? So find ways to have that win, even if it's not what was planned. Didn't hit your macros today. That's okay. Focus on getting as close as you can tomorrow and remembering like one day is not going to make or break you. That is how we can start to train our brain to stay engaged, even when our plan isn't going perfectly, because honestly, like it rarely does. I think maybe when I was in my early 20s and I was not a parent yet, um, I could follow like a plan more perfectly, and I could make up, like if stress was really high, I could sleep for 12 hours and feel really great the next day and still get my workout in and track my food and all of those things. But now in my late 30s, I have multiple kids that need me. I can't just like make up my sleep if I'm feeling under the weather or my plan doesn't go as I thought it would. I can still make great progress, and I've still made great progress, and I've seen many women make great progress in their 30s. It just looks a little bit different, and it might take a little bit longer, but that's okay. So the most like successful clients that we have are the ones that just are consistent, not perfect. They've stopped like quitting and restarting in that cycle, and they've come from like learning to live more in that gray zone of just consistent effort over time. So let's be honest. Life is going to get busy. It is busy. We have so much on our plates. And as a mom, it feels like it gets just busier every year. So if we wait for a perfect stretch of time to stick to our habits, then we're gonna probably never follow through. Um, I think it's really easy to be like, okay, next month is going to be less busy. I'll start then. And like the next month rolls around and it's even busier than the last. So a huge mindset shift here is just understanding that flexibility is really what creates consistency, not perfection. So a lot of times we think if we can't do the whole plan, we might as well just like start later. And instead of just completely abandoning, learning how to adjust is going to be your best friend in terms of like being successful over time. So some different kind of scenarios. These are like very, basic scenarios, but your schedule is really busy. Instead of skipping your workout, like doing something shorter. You didn't meal prep. Instead of maybe like going through fast food or skipping the meal, like having a small win, like I talked about, getting in some protein, grabbing some rotisserie chicken, a salad kit, microwavable veggies. There's so many ways to make a quick meal that can like check those boxes of what we're trying to get in macronutrient wise. Kids are sick, I don't have any time, doing nothing at all, or instead like focus on getting your water that day. Maybe you really don't have time to get in movement. Get your water and then go to bed early so that you can recover as you're taking care of everyone else and also support your own immunity. Feeling really drained instead of like pushing through anyway, that might have worked in our early 20s. Now that just does not seem to work. So instead, like swapping for something that's less intense, like maybe it's stretching and you're working on mobility. Maybe it's getting in a walk with a friend. Maybe it's doing a little bit of core work. Just being willing to adjust. I think at Hungry Fitness, we love to coach clients to think in terms of like tiers of effort versus just like on or off. So having a plan for your high effort day, like those amazing days where you just like have time to get in that full workout, have time to prep and eat the meals that you want, have time to go to bed on time, that high effort day, like what are your goals or what are the habits that you want to do? And those are kind of like your 100% days that just don't happen every day. So then what do you do on a medium effort day? Schedule's a little bit busy. You have time to get in a workout. Maybe it's a 30-minute lifting session. You feel really good about that. Maybe it's you have a great home cooked dinner, but your lunch is like leftovers and breakfast is kind of on the go, but it works. You have a plan that works. And then having a low effort day. Maybe that's just like, I'm going to go for a 10-minute walk. I'm going to make sure I have my water bottle on me. I drink that today. I'm going to get to bed early. And that's kind of it. I'm going to hit my protein and just track my food, but it's going to be more processed foods today and more foods that are on the go. And I'm going to make sure and get more volume tomorrow when I can have more of a high effort day. So that way you're always kind of doing something to keep your momentum going and always like giving your 100% for that day. So I think it helps to even like on Sunday look at your week and like, all right, where are my high effort days and how can I like take advantage and move the needle more on those days? And on my low effort days, how can I just like maintain the current progress I'm doing? And that really doesn't take a ton. And as you start to think in that way over the course of the month, you're going to see progress and you're going to feel the momentum that happens with being consistent. Um, and so that's really like how we build that momentum is just by staying engaged and keeping the needle moving forward. Sometimes, some days more and some days less, but still like in the right direction. So, mindset audit. So, this is where we're going to like think personally a little bit more. Because even if you have the best plan in the world on paper, your results are always going to reflect the mindset that you bring into it. So, just kind of, I welcome you if this sounds fun or helpful. Just kind of close your eyes, and I'm going to ask like a few honest reflection questions. And then I just want you to kind of reflect, like if this resonates for you personally while I ask these. So, do I genuinely believe I'm capable of following through? Or am I just hoping that I will? When I miss a workout or eat off plan, what do I say to myself? Am I using labels like I'm not consistent? I always fall off when I'm busy. I suck at tracking. I'm just not disciplined. These labels sound kind of small, but our brain hears them and starts treating them as truth. And also, like as moms, if we're speaking to ourselves that way, then our kids hear that too. And that's how they speak to themselves. Um, so just like taking a moment and pausing and thinking like, am I labeling myself negatively? Um, and if our identity is rooted in self-doubt or past failure, then we're going to continue to act in ways to match that. So some practical reframes, like kind of on this chart here, is instead of like I'm all or nothing, is I'm learning to find middle ground. Some of these are kind of cheesy. You can obviously like think about them in your own words. I always quit. I'm practicing consistency even when it's messy. I'm bad at tracking, could be an old label. New identity-based reframe would be I'm getting better at tracking in a way that works for me. Old label, I can never stay motivated. New identity-based reframe, I focus on showing up, not on feeling motivated. And these reframes, I think that they can kind of sound a little bit cheesy, but they really do matter because our identity-based habits really work. Atomic Habits, James Clear, he talks a lot about identity-based habits and just like asking yourself instead of setting a goal and trying to will ourselves towards that goal, starting with what kind of person am I becoming, or what kind of person do I want to become, and how can I act like that person today? So then your actions are going to start to align with the person that you want to become. So like a little kind of practical application exercise that you could do this week would be write down one unhelpful label or belief that you repeat and cross it out and rewrite a supportive identity statement. And like saying that daily, even if it feels awkward at first, because repetition is really how we like rewire those thoughts in our brain. And a really like powerful shift that you can make is believing I'm the kind of person who follows through even when it's not perfect. And that practice, like over time, can absolutely change your identity. So when you're trying to stay consistent, I think we've all learned, especially like we're in week almost 6 now, that motivation is not very reliable. It's probably like come and gone throughout the last month and a half. So what works better would be just honestly like making it easier to follow through. And I don't know, I can't see if there's any questions. So hopefully Sam and Marissa are helping me out. If there are, I don't know where, I like cannot see them on my screen. So I'll close this screen share after and answer too if you guys have any. But so this is where like habit stacking and environmental design are amazing. And if you want more research on these things, then I highly recommend Atomic Habits. This is where I got most of these because they're so, so helpful. So a couple ideas for habit stacking and environmental design. Habit stacking is just anchoring. I'm sure most of you guys know what habit stacking is because I talk about it a lot. But anchoring to something you already do. So think of this as like after I do current habit, I'll do new habit. So examples would be taking your supplements right after your morning coffee. For me, I habit stack that. Like I always fill up my water, get my electrolytes, get my creatine when I'm doing my morning coffee. I've habit stacked those because I'm not going to miss the coffee. Review your goals or journal or maybe like pre-log your macros after brushing your teeth at night. Track your food after you finish a meal instead of waiting until the end of the day. Maybe doing like some exercise after you put on your jammies at night or in the morning, like once you get your workout clothes on, like just doing 2 minutes of exercise. So you like I'm checking that box. Maybe the morning gets chaotic and you don't have time to actually do your workout. So instead of adding more pressure, you're just connecting a new behavior to something that's already automatic. So thinking through like, what habits do I really, really want to implement? And can I stack them with something I'm already doing? Um, that is such an easy way to build in new habits. And then for environmental design, making the right choice, the easy choice. So our environment silently influences our behavior all day long. So like if your workout clothes are all dirty, are you gonna get in a workout? Probably not. Some other examples would be like of environmental design would be laying out your gym clothes the night before. You see those, it's really easy to just put them on and get a workout in. Keep your water bottle at your desk visible to you so that you can drink more water without thinking. Keep high protein meals or snacks visible and prepped. Store any like trigger foods out of sight or out of the house if needed. Um, those changes might seem really small, but they just help reduce friction. And friction is one of the biggest reasons we don't follow through. So, just like how can you create less friction so you don't have to constantly be making decisions all day and saying no to things or like trying to find ways to add things in. And then my other favorite, so habit stacking, reducing friction, and my other favorite is the 2-minute rule. Just starting something can feel really overwhelming at times. So breaking it down instead of thinking, I'm going to go do a 60-minute lifting session, put your shoes on and just walk to your garage and turn on your music and commit to the first movement of the warm up. Or maybe put your shoes on and walk for 2 minutes outside, or open up the app and log one meal, or get your water bottle and your workout clothes on and get in the car and leave your garage to head to the gym. Um, so most of the time, the hardest part is like that transition or just getting into the thing that we want to do. So once you do it, then you're likely to keep going. Um, so building a new habit can be tricky sometimes. It can be really challenging. It's hard. We don't love change. So building the habit into something you're already doing can be really helpful. Setting up your space to make action easier is going to be very helpful. And then starting small, like maybe the whole habit feels overwhelming. Like, can you just commit to the first 2 minutes of it and build momentum there? So to kind of wrap things up, a few simple like challenges maybe for this week that can help all of us take action when life is very busy is just number one would be reframing one unhelpful thought or identity or label that we're giving ourselves that keeps like just tripping us up. So instead of, I always fall off track on the weekends, or I'm bad at tracking, or I can't stay consistent during busy weeks or weekends, writing a new version of that. Like weekends are harder for me, so I pre-track Friday night. I'm learning to track meals more simply. My weeks are full, but I can still hit my non-negotiables with protein and fiber. This helps give our brain a better script that supports action instead of like all or nothing thinking. And then number two would be habit stacking one new thing. So picking one action that you've been wanting to add and anchoring it to something you're already doing, like taking your fish oil with your morning coffee and your creatine with your morning coffee. Maybe adding in, if you're feeling like really sore and tight, adding in a 2-minute mobility session after you brush your teeth. Tracking your breakfast as you wait for your kids to finish their breakfast. So the more like simple, then the more automatic the behavior is going to become. And then number three would be to set a bare minimum goal, not like some crazy goal, but just a bare minimum goal. So this one is really important, choosing like a default action that's so doable that you can hit it on even your worst day. So instead of I'm going to walk for an hour every day, like a better example would just be I'm going to get a 10-minute walk in every single day. Like I know I can do that. And if I want to do more, great, but I'm going to get that 10-minute walk in so I can check the box. I'm going to get in 100 ounces of water. I'm going to get in one protein focused meal. I'm going to log dinner only if the day goes off track. Then when you lower the bar for consistency, it helps you stay in motion, and also that motion is what really helps us build our identity. And we become the person who keeps showing up. So choosing like even just one of those things to implement right now, a bare minimum goal, an identity reframe, a habit stack, and just start practicing being the type of person that we want to become. Because I think just like truly our clients that are the most successful are the ones that just keep showing up, because we're going to have off days, we're going to have off weeks. So if we can just do those bare minimum things, then we're going to still feel like we're moving in the right direction of where we want to go. So that's kind of it for today. One thing that I want to really encourage everyone in this group is to just like really keep showing up in the group. You guys do such a good job of that. And we have about a fourth of the people doing momentum than we had doing the original challenge, which I think makes this group really special. It's like smaller, it's more intimate. So just sharing any mindset shifts that you've had over the next 2 weeks between this call and our next call in 2 weeks, sharing any mindset shifts you had, sharing any like I showed up anyway kind of moments, and cheering each other on as we all work on this. If you're habit stacking anything new, if you have like a new bare minimum goal, share those, because then we can all support you. And maybe if someone else is kind of like trying to come up with ideas, that can give them ideas as well. So I will stop sharing my screen and then see what these questions are here. Since I couldn't see them when I was talking. So I think, yeah, okay. There weren't many questions.
No, there's, I,
Does anybody have questions?
want me to, yeah, there's a few that submitted that I can ask too. But if you guys have questions live, I mean, that would be fun too.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. I'm pulling up the questions on the form too. Does anyone have any questions live? Hopefully this was like kind of helpful. I think mindset is a hard one. I feel like most often we don't even recognize the patterns or behaviors that we have, or like the labels that we give ourselves. And so hopefully you can kind of start to think about that, or like just even bring awareness to that over this next week.
all right, ready?
Yeah.
So, one of the questions submitted was something I notice is a bit of self-sabotage. I'm consistent and committed. Then I start to see progress, and instead of keep going, there is a sense of relief. And then I get a bit complacent. And then the old habits sneak in, sabotaging my progress. How do I keep a long-term mindset?
Yeah, absolutely. I think like I have been there. We've all been there when you just have like a day and you're like, okay, you know what? We're gonna order takeout. I'm just gonna eat whatever I want. I'm gonna follow that up with some ice cream. It feels really good. It's like a really great dopamine release, right? But then usually the next day, you wake up, you don't feel as good, and then you feel frustrated with yourself for not staying committed and accountable to your goals. And that's not to say that we can't have an off day, but like using that moment instead of staying in that space, using that moment as an opportunity to be like, all right, how could I have handled yesterday better? It was really busy earlier in the day and I skipped breakfast and I had a crappy lunch, like with no volume. So, of course, at the end of the day, when I've got like done so many things for everyone else and I'm tired and I'm depleted, of course I'm gonna want some kind of a release. So tomorrow, or next Tuesday, when I have the same crazy schedule, I'm gonna make sure I plan ahead. I get in my breakfast, I have a really high volume lunch, and I like maybe I don't have time to cook dinner, but I think it through. So we have something that's quick and ready. So we're not starving and just like wanting to get takeout. Um, and just like using that as a learning opportunity and knowing that maybe every Tuesday is a low intensity day for you and you need to have different goals for that day, but they can be different goals without it being just like full self-sabotage. because I love Marita on our team. She said something along the lines, I'm sure I'm butchering it, of like, how can I make this choice that like tomorrow Marita is going to be happy and excited about? Because yesterday Marita was the one that like decided to do this behavior. So I need to make the choice today that tomorrow Marita is going to be happy with. And so just like I loved how she said that. Like I decided to implement this habit for a reason. So what is that reason? Do I need to reevaluate? Maybe that wasn't a great habit for me to implement right now. Like maybe a 90-minute walk every day. Like it sounded like a good idea yesterday, but I was not actually thinking through the reality of my day. So that's where like setting those bare minimum goals can be really helpful. Um, I think Sam is really good at that too. She has kind of like guardrails in place, is what she calls them for clients. And like, what are some examples of those, Sam, that you've used?
Just putting boundaries around something. So like instead of maybe normally you go out on a Friday, and I don't know why my video is not working, so I apologize.
You're fine.
But maybe you go out on a Friday night, normally you get 3 to 4 drinks. So instead of just like saying, I'm not gonna have alcohol at all, because maybe that's an important social thing for you. So can you put boundaries around it? Can you reduce from 3 to 4 to 1 to 2? Or maybe you like to go out, I don't know, 3 times a week. Can we again not just cut it out, but can we put boundaries around it and, go out once and have that be a really important thing and maybe make a big deal out of it and really enjoy it and savor it. But again, just kind of put limits on it and put boundaries around it. So instead of just not doing it at all, again, how can you still show up for yourself and do those things that are maybe important to you, but just have a little bit more restraint around it?
Yeah, I love that. Um, Someone asked about water. Once I heard the recommendation to drink 50% of your body weight in pounds and ounces. That would be 75 to 80 ounces. That's sustainable. Many days this challenge I hit between 90 and 100. So many days I hit 90 and was unable to check the box and then felt a little defeated. Should I be content to hit 80 to 90, or should I still be striving for that 100 ounces goal moving forward?
I mean, I
So
would say that like 100 ounces isn't necessarily a one size fit all, because if you're more active, if you sweat more, if you live at altitude, like you might need more water than the 100 ounces, but most people can benefit from getting at least 100 ounces. Obviously, if you have a smaller body, maybe you can get away with a little bit less.
but
But
I
I would
think
say that most,
she weighs 150 pounds.
yeah,
I would say I would really would shoot for that 100 ounces or more. I weigh 160 and one thing I will say though is I put electrolytes in my water like pretty often. And so I hit 120 ounces every day, but that's more doable for me with adding some electrolytes. So maybe that would be helpful too if you are more active. Like maybe you'll feel like you want to drink the water more if you add some electrolytes to it. Also, I noticed that goes up for me in the summer. I'm sweating more, I'm hotter. So yeah, I guess I would say it's kind of like when you are eating 70 grams of protein and you bump up to 140, it's going to feel really hard to do initially. So if you are drinking 90 ounces, like, and you've been drinking 70, then that's great. Like you're improving. That's awesome. We're moving the needle in the direction we want it to go. But how can you continue to maybe add more? And maybe that's adding some lemon to your water. Maybe that's a different water bottle. Maybe that's adding a straw. Maybe that's adding ice. And just knowing you're going to feel better drinking more. And 100 ounces, I don't think it's not like that's like too much water for you. Anything to add
I
there?
agree. And then just remembering the why behind it. Like we're not just blatantly saying drink 100 ounces, but it's going to help with your digestion. It's going to help with your skin. It's going to help with your satiety. It's going to help you literally on a cellular level. Like if our cells aren't hydrated, it's going to be hard for them to do the processes that they need to do. So, remembering the why behind it too, can sometimes be helpful and just make you kind of suck it up. But I also like to break down the water goal. So like 100 ounces can feel daunting, but can you
Hmm.
set like break it down throughout the day, 30 ounces by 10 a.m., another 30 ounces by 1 p.m., another 30 ounces by 4 p.m., and then just maybe stick to sips the rest of the day, something like that, kind of look at your day and break it down And that can be a more obtainable way of thinking about it too. It feels more doable to some.
Yeah. Okay, I think like probably last question is what are your tips for reducing muscle soreness as we get used to trying this cycle? So, I would have a lot of tips here. So first, I would say, probably if you're just jumping right into this new cycle, I would start with the 30-minute workout options because the 60 is a lot of volume. In fact, I usually will scale down the 60 personally and do kind of like an in between. So I would start with the 30 and then assess overall recovery. Make sure you're getting plenty of sleep. That's going to be important. Water is also going to be important. All the things we've kind of talked about. But adding in like fish oil could be really helpful for you from an inflammation standpoint. Eating more fatty fish is going to help with recovery, inflammation. Sam, would you say anything else there too?
Your pre and post workout nutrition can have an impact on that too. Are you getting enough carbs, especially before and after your workout? Not saving, most of your carbs are like under eating on carbs. So, or like maybe you're low carb, high fat eater. That can contribute to the soreness as well.
Absolutely.
Do you take creatine monohydrate? Because that can absolutely be helpful too.
Yeah.
But I mean, your body's just going to acclimate to it. Just with anything, you're going to slowly adjust. But yeah, and
Yeah.
the stretching can help too. If you put
Yeah.
your legs in the air, like against the wall, that can help with like drainage too. Walking.
Adding in walking in will help too. And yeah, you might just be doing a little bit too much volume to start. So I would like ease off of volume a little bit and maybe even instead of like taking it all the way to failure, your first couple weeks, maybe stick more in that like 60-70% zone for your exertion level and build from there. Because we definitely don't want you, like you're gonna have some soreness when anything is new, but we just don't want you to be like debilitated. If you feel like it's debilitating, then that's where I would make those changes. And then getting
Another
in,
one would be too, I just thought of is sodium and electrolytes.
yes, absolutely. Increasing that, like maybe adding in electrolytes if you don't take them currently, especially around your training session. And then what Sam said, like getting in carbs around your workout too, especially those of us in a fat loss phase, like we're just going to be glycogen depleted. So if we can like really make sure the carbs we are eating are around our training, that's going to help a lot with feeling good and being able to push your training and then also recovering. And then Jen asked, getting in 3+ cups of veggies every day. Any suggestion? Is there a veggie supplement? So um, this is going to be different, a little bit different for everyone. Like usually with clients, I'll look at their food logs and I can easily come up with ideas based on kind of what they're eating on how like it'd be easy to pair veggies. Dinner is a really big one. I always roast like a couple sheets of veggies, like a ton of broccoli, bell peppers, mushrooms, green beans. It's like so easy to just throw stuff on a cookie sheet. I always season the same way. I keep it really simple. I spray with olive oil and then I do salt, pepper, garlic powder and I roast on 400 for like 20 minutes. And I'll do usually a couple cookie sheets because I can throw them in my fridge and just microwave them with leftovers for lunch. So that makes that makes dinner. I usually can get in 2 cups of veggies with dinner if I do that. And then leftovers for lunch. So it's like getting in a cup there, like that's your 3 cups. But also I usually get kind of snacky before dinner, especially if our sports schedule is crazy and I can't eat dinner early. But I like to I have ever done just veggie trays. I'll just like buy veggie trays, which is not the most cost friendly thing to do, but it's very convenient. I'll buy a veggie tray and put it out, and then we'll just like I'll just eat that while I'm making dinner. My kids will eat that as they get home from school. But also it's like takes less than probably 5 minutes to chop up a cucumber, um, throw some carrots, whatever. I like sugar snap peas out. And so then you can just snack on those, or I'll take like a bag of those with me as I'm driving around and just what are veggies that like you can eat raw and that you enjoy raw, just take those with you on the go. Breakfast is also like an easy time if you're making eggs to just throw in a huge handful of spinach. It shrinks up really easily and you don't really notice it. As far as like veggie supplements go, unfortunately, no, but you could throw a couple cups of spinach into like your protein shake and probably not notice that. I was even telling a client today, I don't necessarily love this one because it adds a lot of volume to the shake, but a half a cup of cauliflower, you could put that in a protein shake and you probably wouldn't taste it at all. And that adds fiber, as well. I think it was like 5 grams of fiber and a half of a cup of cauliflower. Might be like 3, but there are ways to like sneak it in. If you really just like hate veggies, try soups. Soups are a really good way to add a lot of different vegetables in, and it's like easier for most people to eat them. Anything you ladies would add to that?
Just finding a way that you like to cook them. Like some
Yeah,
people maybe like them a little bit, like
I like them
sauteed or in
crisp.
a stir fry. I personally love mine like broiled, a little bit crispy, or like
Me
air fry.
too.
And I season like a lot of seasoning, like a lot. Like I just love to
Liberally.
have that extra flavor. So don't be afraid to like season it well. A lot of people
Yeah.
under season, I think, a lot of things. So just like don't be afraid to season it and play around with how you cook it. I mean, maybe
More
you want,
salt.
yeah, or salt. But yeah,
Yeah.
play around with different ways of cooking it, and that can.
Or dips too. Like when I put veggies out in the evenings, I'll do like cottage cheese and I'll mix a little bit of chipotle bitchin sauce. That's like my go-to. So then I'm getting high protein, but like a lot of flavor. And I love to dip veggies in that. I could eat 3 cups of veggies in one sitting doing that. And I can log the cottage cheese and the bitchin sauce. It's like half a cup of cottage cheese, a tablespoon or 2 of bitchin sauce, and veggies. I could eat that all day, every day. So that's like a really easy snack that's very much in line with your goals and then also will help you increase your volume and it doesn't take much prep. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I like to do the same thing with Greek yogurt and like ranch seasoning to have like a ranch.
Yes, that's a good one too. Or even, yeah, like the low fat sour cream with ranch seasoning too.
Yeah. Yeah.
All good ideas. Um, well, keep us updated. Keep asking questions in the group as you have them. And then we'll be doing our next call in 2 weeks. Sam's going to be doing that. And it's going to be really like habits and fat loss, mastering insulin sensitivity. Also kind of tying in like hormones with insulin sensitivity. And then our call after that will be with Marissa on just sustainable success. So like life after fat loss, how to transition and go from there. So in the meantime, if you feel like you're hitting a plateau and want help troubleshooting, let us know in the group and just keep sharing any wins that you've had or any questions that you have, and we're happy to help. Thank you so much for joining, everyone. And if you are a mom and having the end of the school year, just good luck. It's our last week this week, so we're just hanging on over here. Thanks,
Uh,
everyone.